Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today. Today, we are doing a panel on AI native CI/CD. I am your host, Garima Bajpai, and I have some lineup of some of the ambassadors from Continuous Delivery Foundation who will share their thought leadership on this topic. AI native CI/CD and why we have chosen this topic is it represents the next evolution of software delivery, where artificial intelligence is embedded throughout the panel pipeline to optimize, to automate, to secure every stage of integration, testing, deployment, and monitoring. Through this panel discussion, we'll try to outline the core features of AI native CI/CD, opportunities and challenges, and how open source and the foundations like Continuous Delivery Foundation can support the adoption of it. So without any further delay, we should introduce our panelist. So I will start with Giorgi. Giorgi, over to you.
Hey, hello everybody. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Giorgi Keratishvili. I'm from Tbilisi. And overall, I bring over 10 years of experience in DevOps and CI/CD. And I have been part of many communities. And what I see, the AI is on the rise. And overall, I'm super excited to discuss it today with you guys. Passing to Robert.
Hi, thanks, Giorgi. Robert Kelly, VP of Technology Enablement with Liatrio. Been with Liatrio, we've been cloud modernization consultancy for a long time here. I've been with Liatrio for 9 years, software development background. I am extremely excited about what AI has been bringing to us. We've been a DevOps consultancy forever. I've been super excited about DevOps, but now what AI brings to the table is just opening up so many new doors and opportunities, and just really excited to see how this can affect and improve all of our workflows going forward in software delivery. So great to meet you all. I'll pass it over to Yair.
Hello, I'm Yair. Currently living in Berlin, engineering manager for Amboss. In the past, I was also managing director of consultancy, DevOps consultancy. So this is very much a strong connection. Worked in observability, QA, many years. Yeah, I'm also interested in AI, of course, but I'm also a bit skeptic. So that's also good to have someone like that. And I go with Muktesh.
Thanks, Yair. Hey everyone, my name is Muktesh, and I work as a lead engineer for Adobe's applied AI in developer platforms. And super excited to be here. Part of my job is to enable developers to write better software faster. So how we can apply AI in the different phases from core to concept to cloud. And super excited to be here. We are going to discuss a lot. So yeah, let's get started. Over to you, Garima.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'm Garima Bajpai, your host. And as you know me, I would start from the fundamentals of this topic, like AI native CI/CD. And how would you describe this? I'll start with Giorgi, of course, and then, everyone is welcome to kind of jump in and give their own perspective as well. So, Giorgi.
Yeah. So regarding the CI/CD and AI, not gonna lie, like the AI is very exciting, and the only limit factor how we can implement it in today's world is very broad, right? And we can come up with many solutions. But the biggest benefit what I see when implementing AI in our CI/CD is like when we pass all our build information, right? I think it can predict already like what possible outcomes can come up with our CI/CD, right? And especially if we feed with past, let's say, build history, right? What went wrong, it's already can build some predictions, right? Some patterns, what could do wrong. And overall, I'm a big believer that it can fill some gaps, which maybe some developers missed, maybe some linkers could not pick up or such things. And overall, it gives us a better suggestion, right? What could go on wrong, and overall, what kind of like feedback could give us to improve or implement in the future. The next evolution for CI/CD, I would say, especially in deployment sites, I believe it will be self-healing functionalities, right? Like we have some functionality in Kubernetes, but implementing it on a CI/CD level And on early stage of our pipelines, I believe is a game changer as it will reduce the time which is needed for building our software and overall developing and deploying our code. Passing to the Rob.
Excellent. Yeah, and I will actually ask a
Yeah.
continued question, Robert, to you, because I mean, there are two aspects of it, like AI embedded into CI/CD, and we have been doing from the past many years, right? I mean, we have been introducing AI to CI/CD in some way or the other. And now, if we are talking about AI native platforms for CI/CD, how they are different and what kind of features you can expect from an AI native CI/CD platform, what kind of benefits software practitioners could gain out of it?
Yeah, I think that, when you start saying, hey, well, what makes something AI native, right? It's definitely not additive, right? So it's like, hey, well, we've got a platform and we decided to have, like you said, an AI feature. But is that really an AI first approach? Or are we looking at sort of expecting to see something, you know, as a using AI versus is it just, sort of an added feature? And I think if we start saying, well, we're using our platforms now with the expectation of AI, then it becomes, what as Giorgi was mentioning, what can we learn, right? And I think that if we're talking about an AI native platform, it's like we're expecting to learn things from the product along the way, from the delivery along the way. And we're expecting things like not just for what I'm deploying, right, for my product, but for the rest of the applications that may be deployed alongside, your products at your company, right? So what have I done in my in my pipeline, and what have I done in my product delivery that someone else can learn from, or vice versa, right? So if there's talked about anomaly detection and things like that. Well, if we know if the platform is sort of built to we'll just say collate or bring all of these things together, that really as an AI first, like you mentioned, is like AI native, that the expectation is that all of these the things that the platform is surfacing and learning are going to be utilized for everybody involved, not just a one-off pipeline sort of self-healing. It say, hey, well, what did I learn from that other product's self-healing, so that I know that we can predict that in the future for other products that haven't been developed or deployed yet. And I think that's, I'll kind of stop talking here, but if to make something AI native, it really means like, okay, we're going to expect to share these capabilities across multiple products in they're using a platform.
Excellent points. And it gives me a segue to go to Yair, because, you come from a consulting background, right? And you deal with a lot of clients. And if we talk about sharing these kind of, secret sauce in terms of how we would enable AI native CI/CD, what kind of challenges it could bring to the community, and how does foundations like Continuous Delivery Foundation can play a wider or a bigger role in it?
Okay, so there's a couple of things here. One is that although we are talking about CI/CDs like they're very, very mature thing, the implementation that we see normally in many, many places is not so mature, because we have a lot of legacy in the background, and we have this complexity which is very, very adding more and more friction. And now we are reaching a place where we want to add another layer of complexity to the spiel. So what we will deal with is basically a burning tail that is burning more. And of course, the high performers, the fast ones, will run with it. And then there will be the mediocre. And then there will be the ones who cannot even go there. And I think two things that we can do is, one, define best practices, which will bring the context to the future. But secondly, define the correct data structures that would be needed by AI. And this is a great place to be, because if we define something like open telemetry or some sort of a protocol, we can actually say like, okay, no matter what AI tools you want to use, no matter what CI/CD pipelines you use, if you send me X, you will get W. And this is something that I would be excited to see. And this is where we can contribute. We have the knowledge. So I would say this is how I see it. I mean, this is, and one more thing is the cultural aspect, where we can also help, because we are all very experienced in this. And I would say 50% of the work is helping people feel comfortable with the new technologies. Like not being afraid to make mistakes with it. Start with a small thing and then see how they react. So I think we can bring a lot to this game, this foundation.
This
Yep.
is very, very interesting, and I would be visiting Berlin shortly, so I would catch up with you for more insights into how we at Continuous Delivery Foundation can be the drivers of some of this spec centricity, which you mentioned, where natural language processing plays an important role. If you think about vendor neutrality or language semantics, cloud agnostic ways of
Yes.
adopting CI/CD, all this, I think, relies the backbone of it would be like standardization, reference architecture, the frameworks, right? So we are doing substantial amount of work in these open source communities. Continuous Delivery Foundation also has a reference architecture. So we have to pave the way forward for AI native CI/CD platforms. But now I want to come to Muktesh, because Muktesh and myself, we also had some fun last year writing a book on CI/CD design patterns, right? So how do you connect CI/CD design patterns with AI native CI/CD, and do you think it would play a crucial or important role in the evolution of CI/CD practices?
Yeah. Thank you, Garima. So I think it is going to play a significant role because the design patterns are not changing. The way you collect the data, the way you implement in each phase of CI/CD pipeline, that's not going to change. In our book, we talked about behavior-driven CI/CD or DevOps, where you collect the data from each phases in your pipeline, and then you use that data to do prediction. You use that data to optimize your workflows and things like that. So in those scenarios, in those contexts, I think it's not going to change. Now, as Yair mentioned, there will be trends in terms of like educating people. There will be efforts in terms of improving interoperability or normalizing these metrics or signals, so to speak. So that is going to evolve. Like I would like to mention like CD events. We have one project which is like emitting, the core focus for CD events is emitting the signals from your entire pipeline, which you can use further to determine the behavior or outcomes or processes or detecting all that thing across the tools. So that has done a fantastic job. I also like to mention, as this space is evolving, there is a protocol from Anthropic, which is called Model Context Protocol, which has started normalizing like how AI systems can interact with external data in that sense. So for me in future, I would also see like MCP evolving, and probably the CD events are getting integrated in that sense, where each of the CI/CD pipeline can detect a lot of issues beforehand. And another point I would like to mention here is like let's be cognizant about our users, like who our users are for the pipeline. So most of the time it's developers or SRE persona or DevOps engineers, like where the most of their flow state is happening. Like if we can bring that prediction or insight as early as possible to the developer, like feedback loop is pretty important. So that way it can be detected and remediated as soon as possible. So I think these are a few of the patterns or few of the key points we are going to see more and more as we evolve. But yeah, that's what I'm excited about. That is something we are also trying to do. So yeah.
Muktesh, I'm looking forward for part two of that book, right? With AI native CI/CD design patterns. But now I think it's a good segue for the next question. And I would ask this to Rob and then to Giorgi. Because, when these kind of new trends or futuristic, things start to kind of, conceptualize, it's also limited guidance for the practitioners, right? So there's not a lot of learnings or best practices available for the practitioners, even open source communities, for example, or projects. So how do you think um, open source communities can support each other, the projects can support each other, as well as how can we measure the progress? We have been talking about Dora metrics for a long time, and I have been following you, Rob, on LinkedIn. So you talk a lot about matrices and measurement and Dora especially. So I would like to ask you if you see some kind of evolutionary matrices coming into place with AI native CI/CD. Is there something else which needs to be added or is important when we start to kind of adopt AI native CI/CD platforms? And what can be our key challenge as practitioners?
Yeah, I think this is big right now because really it's an explosion of tools and workflows are changing across the board for engineers, right? There's I think if you're looking at this from the full SDLC perspective, and I think that's probably how we should look at it, uh, it's a lot of change in a short amount of time, right? Where you could be adding, using just Copilot, a little bit of, we'll say a little bit of AI. You could have an agentic workflow with like Windsurf, Cursor, Claude Code, things like that that are really starting to change workflows and how we do work. And as Mitesh mentioned, bringing in MCP, that's a huge change to a personal developer workflow as well as the workflows in our CI/CD processes. So just saying there's so much change happening all at once, it's hard to say, well, where do I begin and where do I start really, looking for support even. It's like if I think I need support everywhere all at once, where do I start? And I think that's the problem we see right now because there are just so many tools and so many different changes happening. But uh, the community is there on LinkedIn, socials. I think now that there are groups in X and things like that, you can sort of attach yourself to the community a little bit as you see someone posting. And I think that's the best way to get involved is to actually ask questions. It's one thing to kind of see if yourself uh, uh, Garima, you've been very active. You're both writing books, presenting out, sharing with the community. So I think someone like myself sees that you're making yourself available, right? And I think we really shouldn't say, well, we should take advantage of that when someone's putting themselves out there and sharing with the community. I think others in the community can kind of latch on and start asking questions, and I think that's going to be a big piece to go forward. But like you mentioned, we have the CD Foundation. There are already these great organizations and great groups together that I think with uh, with the help of the community and people that are involved, like you are, we really need to start tying these things together, right? And we've already mentioned building the standards, but unless we are sort of taking time to work with each other, that might be the challenge. That's definitely the challenge we have in front of us right now is sort of that finding those, we'll just say, what are the best practices? Because that's there's so much change happening. I'll stop. I hand it off maybe to Giorgi. You have any comments there?
Yes, to be honest, Rob, you mentioned very, very interesting topics and especially the role of community, right? Because when we grow as a community and when these new tools come out and they mature with the time, it's very hard to find, let's say, very informative information. But nowadays, I would find a bit drown even in information because there's a lot of context and sometimes they repeat itself, but sometimes you did not get to the grasp of the concept, right? And I believe the collaboration across the communities is very crucial in this point, and especially the role of ambassadors, right? Personally, I have spent a lot of time with local C-level people who want to adopt C technologies, right? Such as AI, maybe some generative tools, but they are afraid because, and it's like in human nature, like they are afraid of the new things that they do not know. And overall, our role is to enable them and educate them, and also their technical people, how they can mature this technology and integrate inside of their product and make a better, maybe delivery time, maybe better delivery measurables, right? And overall, the role of the whole community is crucial when enabling all these tools together. So yeah, passing my words to Garima.
Yeah, thank you, Georgie and Rob, for your great insights. And I keep the hard questions for Yair because he's a consultant, right? So we have to rely on his.
I'm not a consultant in the last 2 years, just to be sure. I was.
So, okay, let's try our luck with the harder questions with you. So I was, reading a report from Gartner, and they are predicting that more and more software code would be written through AI agents, right? And it's not a news for software practitioners. So the evolution of the CI/CD pipelines is not happening in isolation, right? So there is AI native CI/CD evolution, as well as side by side, there is also an evolution in the software development and delivery organizations where the code is being written by AI agents, right? So how do you think we can build synergies with, what's happening on the other side, or, on the broader side of this topic, and how AI native CI/CD could or would evolve? How do you ensure that we are moving the needle in the right direction,
Mm.
with the evolution which is happening, right?
Yes, well, this is a very hard question, as you said, and it's a very wide answer. I would say, as an if I look at it from our perspective as a CD foundation, I mean, we are a foundation. So we are here because everybody in this room cares about the community. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I would say the first thing we need to do is to bring back some sort of a notion that is slowly dying in the world. And it turned out into something not nice because gatekeeping is considered bad. But sometimes you need to rely on people that know what they're doing. Because if I open my LinkedIn right now, so I bring 30 years experience. I'm not claiming to be the best ever, but I still know something. And 60% of what I read, I don't want to read it even, because somebody wrote a really nice message today. Everybody is an expert. Then you need to check their CV, something. But as a foundation, we are neutral. And I think we can use this neutrality to help. It's gatekeeping is not a bad thing as such. Maybe it's not the right word, I would say. But the idea is to say, like, wait a second, if we run away with trends, like a lot of things that happen right now, then you might lose the good stuff. And when you lose the good stuff, all the good privileges, these tools are amazing. Yet again, like every technology, I mean, I've been saying this for so many years. Every time comes a new tool and they say, all of you will go away. Very soon we won't need this. I heard funny stuff. I can tell the stories, but it's not relevant. And I'm saying AI, okay, it will come. It will definitely be a big shift, but you would still need somebody sitting there to check what AI is doing, at least in the next couple of years, unless I'm making a mistake, But this is my gut feeling. And then again, okay, you want to fire all your people like somebody wrote a couple of days ago? Yeah, fine, fire. Let machine learning learn from itself to do its own code, enjoy it. Because, for example, I was playing a lot with, let's call one machine learning tool, and I checked the code. The code is good, but it's also not the code that I would like to see. It was very different than what a very good developer would write. So there's so much places we can be, especially people with our experience, with our knowledge, with also our, I would say, the fact that we want to do something for the community. So, like I said, it puts you in a different place. The fact that we're sitting in this room right now says something. And now the question is, how will you do it? You know,
Yeah, it's
I
a
have some
great.
ideas.
Yeah. To quickly add what you had mentioned, that's one of the patterns across the industry, which is like people or enterprises or organizations are struggling is the validity or the tests of, say, for the code generation piece, right? Like whatever code AI is writing, is that accurate? Or if it is accurate, is that the optimized one? Is it the best practice, right? Is it adhering to the best practices? So in AI world, this is like called evals, like evaluations, writing evaluations. And it's hard. It's hard to evaluate for two reasons, because first, AI LLMs are non-deterministic, means for the same set of input, you can get different output. And then second challenge is you also need to get your ground truth or your reference output as solid as possible. So all you can do is you measure the relative accuracy. You can apply like semantic similarity, how it is. So I think as we evolve, this is going to be more crucial, like how you run your evals against whatever workflow you are applying the AI to. And also like how do you implement the best cognitive architecture where you don't have a lot of time in terms of processing. And more fundamental question is ultimately all these softwares or implementations, they are also software. So how do you apply the guardrails or best practices for the life cycle itself? So yeah, I agree. That's one of the challenges right now in across the industry. Like how do you write your evals and different kind of measure the output and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some key topics for our next blog, which is basically, how AI native CI/CD best practices would evolve. You also mentioned, both of you, Yair and Muktesh, one important aspect, if hearing from you, I can also extract some matrices. Like sustainability is one of the key matrices which we can evolve. That how sustainable this code would be when you are writing with AI agents at a large scale, and how AI native CI/CD would support it, right, with feedback loop. So those are the kind of discussions we probably have to continue in the community. In the interest of time, I have a final question, which I will ask all of you. Given that we are just starting with AI native CI/CD perspective, what would be your recommendations as ambassadors for CI/CD and Continuous Delivery Foundation to start with this perspective in the first year, right? I mean, we probably are in one of the early years, or many of the organizations have started to look at, and many practitioners are experimenting, and this will be the first year for AI native CI/CD, right? So what is our recommendation from an ambassador point of view for the software practitioners? What kind of key challenges and opportunities we see in the space? And if you can outline from your experience, that is one thing which you can kind of, uplift and say, hey, as software practitioner, I would look at this aspect of CI/CD. For example, observability can be one of the areas, right? So I'll start with Giorgi, and then we go round the table, and yeah, we add our own perspective.
Sure. I would say it's always better to start with a small part, right? And especially like in such a time when there's a lot of information regarding AI, you may feel lost, right? There is so new technology every day. Like next day is like one day was Gen AI was a new thing, then MCP comes up, and what will tomorrow? Nobody knows, right? Maybe DeepSeek will come up with R2 tomorrow. Nobody knows, right? But nonetheless, it's important to take a step in a small manner, right? To understand what we are doing and where we are going, because in nowadays it's very easily to be under influence of the hype and implementing a tool which you do not need, and especially it could grow in a very bad thing, I would say, such a thing called technical depth, right? When you implement some tool, it's a shiny new things, but nobody is using tomorrow, right? And it becomes your, let's say, burden which you have to carry over the quarters, right? And maintaining it. But nonetheless, I would say start small, start playing with some local LLMs. And what biggest benefit I see it's implementing in our everyday routines and workflows, right? Especially if you need to analyze, let's say, some observability stuff, I would say it's very good for log scanning and log understanding because it gives you patterns which you may miss. And especially it's hard to, I mean, when you are, let's say, on a call at 3 a.m. and you need to understand the gazillion of the lines of the code, and especially logs, the AI can help and accelerate, right? And overall help you to reduce the time which you need to recover your system. So I believe in a small steps, and over the time, the thing gets more mature, and we are just at the beginning of this era.
Let me go next. Thanks, Giorgi. I want to reiterate some of those things that you said as well as Garima. You mentioned observability, and I think actually that's one thing I wanted to point out really quickly. It's super important. Without observability and understanding what's happening in your delivery cycle, your delivery pipelines, really AI is going to be less effective, right? One thing you need is data. You need information, right? And without good observability and surfacing the things that are happening throughout that delivery lifecycle, you're really going to be left with AI. What is it going to use to make decisions? What are you going to learn from delivery? And that goes back to the things that are fundamental either way. You've got to have resilient, stable delivery pipelines, and you've got to have stable delivery across the board. I mean, you need that for continuous delivery no matter what, right? So if we're talking about what needs to change, we'll say, well, do you have strong fundamentals first? And then have you added observability? And that's another thing that the CD Foundation has been working on for quite a while, right? And without these fundamentals, you can't look to add something as really a step function or a step improvement like AI and expect to get consistent results there. So I'll just say there, it's like, hey, we've got to keep with fundamentals. We definitely want to continue to experiment, but we've got to have those foundational things there.
Yeah,
Maybe,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the same as Giorgi and Robert, but I would say AI by itself is not enough. So think about one, why do you want to add AI? What's the business purpose of adding AI? It might be super valid, but it's not enough just to have fun with AI. Yeah, this we can do with Claude by ourselves. Second, use that to build the foundation. Like Robert said, upskill your teams in other places. Otherwise, they have suddenly two subjects that are technical depth, two subjects that they are running after, two problems. So make sure that you align to some level and then do the jump or something in that vicinity. And I think both said it already, but it's super important. Try to make sure that you use data that is in high quality, repetitive, that you can actually have the best result because as Muktesh said, LLMs are not sort of repeat, they can take the same data and have different answers. So you need really to have the best data as possible, I think. Yeah, and I'll go with Muktesh.
Yeah, so couldn't agree more with the data or foundation piece, because again, that's how the LLMs are. Like you are going to augment your pipeline and make LLMs intelligent in that sense, like they can predict things. One of the byproduct of that is like LLMs need context, and the way you pass the context is through the data. So that's why it's super important to get that data. And like you also need to, Georgie mentioned like impact, like you also need to listen to your customers or users in that sense, like who is going to use AI in what sense. Overall, I'm optimistic in that sense because we can use AI as a buddy to enhance our productivity and apply these small enhancements in different phases across the delivery pipeline. However, since this entire ecosystem is evolving, I would also keep an eye on like how mature the underlying technologies or whatever problem I'm going to solve, is it solving or not? So we need to keep an eye on the output. One of the aspects I also want to add is the education piece. Like, how do, as a CD Foundation, we enable education, or at least the use cases, reference architectures to the community where members can contribute as well as learn. We can learn from each other, because this space is pretty new and it's evolving pretty fast. And I think that goes anything in general. Like, we do a lot of work in terms of education already in CD Foundation. So I would say, like, let's lean on to each other and learn from each other. And then, kudos to you, Garima. Like, we should be having these kind of sessions more, where we can express our opinion, and then whosoever is watching this recording in future, they can also learn and contribute. So yeah, that's pretty important.
Thanks, everyone. And I think excellent points. I will also highlight a few points which I think will also activate our intellectual brain cells, right? So the first and foremost thing is AI first mindset is okay to have, until and unless you don't forget the human in the loop and human in the lead, right? So it's the culture plays an important role here, and how humans and machine will interact with each other, build a strong team. It takes time, and it will have some of its challenges as well. I also would like to bring something which is very interesting. I don't want to be a crybaby organization at the end of the day adopting AI native CI/CD and AI native practices, and then cry about our state of infrastructure. Because a lot of times what happens is that it adds up to the infrastructure cost, and probably we'll have to do the foundational pieces together, so that we do not create other problems or other silos in the ecosystem, right? And it also helps us to understand that how continuous delivery foundation, for example, would or could work together with other foundations. Like security becomes very important, right? So OpenSSF, for example, we have to build some more powerful bridges with organizations like that. Infrastructure foundations are important, so that is another aspect. And of course, DORA matrices, we would like to have more broader perspective about how the community can contribute in the evolution of measurement and matrices by and large, right? So having said that, I think we are out of time for this panel. A lot of interesting points, and probably we should do a part 2 of this, and we will curate this, and probably we'll come out with some more new perspective. But for now, I would like to thank all the panelists for taking out this time to be together and to share their views. And of course, this panel will be published on the YouTube channel for Continuous Delivery Foundation, so watch out for that. If you are at CDCon, I would appreciate to see if you can kind of connect with the ambassadors, with the community, and also extend this conversation further. So thank you again, and have a nice day ahead. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye bye. Have a good day, guys.